Hi guys, welcome back to our channel, and today I'll be talking about the cost of living here in Iceland. So if you're someone who's curious or planning to stay here in Iceland or just visiting as a tourist, then this video is for you, so stay tuned. So first of all, if you are on a tight budget, then coming to Iceland might not be a good idea for you. I'm gonna give you the reasons why it's hard for a person who's on a tight budget to come visit Iceland or just even live in Iceland. Before applying residency permit in Iceland, you need to have at least 190k a month after tax, pay after tax. And then if you're married to someone, like for example an Icelander, together you should have at least 280k ISK. And for every extra child, you should have around 94 or 95k thousand. So after meeting those requirements, then you can have your residency permit. But what comes after residency permit? So number one, housing. So looking for an apartment here in Iceland, or especially here in Reykjavik, is probably one of the hardest thing to do, especially for people like me who's like only 22 years old, and my husband is only 23. So you can't really expect us to have like $1 million or so. Renting for an apartment, like a studio apartment, it would cost in average for about 150k. And if you have a pet, that's even harder. Like, it was so hard for us to look for an apartment that allows a dog. It's around 200k to 250k ISK. If you're only renting for a room, you should at least pay 80k. You know what I also find ridiculous here in Iceland, especially in Reykjavik, is that most tenants of apartments ask for 2 months security deposit. So for example, you're paying for a 200k apartment, so you'll be paying 600,000 upfront. So that's like so ridiculous. But in average, Icelanders or people who come here to work in Iceland usually get a pay in average of, let's just say, 300k after tax. The next one is groceries. So me and my husband actually really have a tight budget with groceries. Like, we stick to the plan at least maybe like twice a month. So a grocery would cost from 20k to 40k depending on how many people are eating in a house. So for 2 persons, we are 2 at home plus our dog, so we spend around 40 to 50k in grocery. But you also have to add, like for example, I'm near my period, I get really serious cravings, guys. Like in the middle of the night, I would be asking my husband to buy me some donut or something, pizza. The next expense we have is we have to pay electricity, heating. So electricity and heating, we spend every month for around 30k. That would include electricity, heating, and the internet. I also want to point out gas. So for example, if you're a person who loves traveling around Iceland, so it might be a little bit higher for your expense because towns here in Iceland are really far apart from each other. For example, here in Reykjavik, you want to go to Keflavik, and that's around 40 minutes. And if you want to go to the north, Akureyri, that might be like around 6 hours. Though it's not that hard to look or buy for a car here in Iceland, especially if you're looking for a second-hand one. You can like easily get a car for like 150k, and that's actually a good deal for me. So we spend gas around 15k a month. But if you're someone who's traveling, then you'll be spending for about maybe 50k or so. It depends on where you're going though. You also have the miscellaneous fees. So for example, me, I like buying extra things for my skincare, also makeup. It depends on who you are. I also want to add car insurance, so that's about 10k. I've tracked my expenses for the last 5 months, and I spend actually like 90k for miscellaneous. Like, I don't know. I really don't know how did that happen. Like, I only buy like shampoo, or at the end of the month I look at my bank account, it's like 90k expense for miscellaneous. Like, I think most of you can relate about this, but it's really hard to cut my miscellaneous expense. So I think that's all that you have to keep in mind when living in Iceland. So let's compute. So for example, you'll be having a pay 300k after tax, and then you have to pay, for example, you have a room for 80k, and then you have a grocery for 40k, and then you include the electricity and heating, internet, which is about 30k, and then you also have miscellaneous, so maybe 80k. So you'll have 70k left in your account. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.